You had a fight. Maybe it wasn't even that big a fight, but now they've completely disappeared. Maybe physically, maybe emotionally, but they've shut
Mm.
down so hard, it's like talking to a brick wall.
And if you're the anxious partner, your brain is spiraling. Did I push them away? Are they done with me? Why won't they just talk to me?
But here's what's actually happening inside your avoidant partner during that shutdown. And it's not what you think. They're not calmly deciding whether they still want the relationship. They're not punishing you with silence. They're collapsing under the weight of shame so
Mm.
intense, their entire nervous system has gone offline.
Today, we're taking you inside an avoidance mind during shutdown. What's really happening in there, why it looks the way it does, and what it means for your relationship. Because understanding what's happening inside them changes everything about how you respond and whether there's hope for repair.
So let's start with what shutdown actually is, because most people think avoidants are choosing to withdraw, like they're sitting there calmly deciding, I need space right now. Or even worse, that they're consciously making this choice to hurt you. But that's not what's happening at all. Real avoidant shutdown isn't a choice, it's a nervous system takeover.
Think about it this way: when you have a conflict with your avoidant partner, their system doesn't register uncomfortable conversation. It registers threat to survival because somewhere deep in their history, usually childhood, conflict meant danger. Maybe emotional danger, maybe physical danger, but danger nonetheless. So their parts learned when things get heated, when emotions get too big, the only way to survive is to shut everything down and get out.
So now we want to introduce you to the parts that take over during that shutdown, because understanding this changes how you see what's happening. In internal family systems, we talk about parts of us, which is why you'll often see IFS referred to as parts work.
There are protectors and exiles. The exiles are the wounded, vulnerable parts carrying old pain and shame, usually young parts that experienced the original hurt. And the protectors, their entire job is to make sure those exiles never have to feel that pain again. And there are two types of protectors.
The first type of protectors are managers. These are the parts that are trying to keep
Mm.
everything controlled and safe before anything goes wrong. They're proactive, planning, controlling, keeping the exiles buried and the person feeling safe. But when the managers can't keep things safe anymore, when those exiles start to surface, that's when the second type of protector shows up, the firefighters.
Firefighters are the emergency response parts. When the exiles are about to break through, the firefighters come in with extreme reactive tactics to shut everything down immediately. For avoidance, shutdown is a firefighter response. It's not strategic, it's not thought out, it's a full system emergency evacuation.
Their firefighters are basically screaming, abort mission, get out, shut it all down. And when that happens, the thinking brain goes offline. The part that can communicate, that can problem solve, that can stay connected, gone. What's left is pure survival mode. And in survival mode, you can't do relationship. All you can do is escape.
So when you're standing there trying to talk to them and they've gone completely flat, completely emotionless, completely unavailable, that's what you're seeing. Their firefighters have taken over, and everything else has been shut down to protect them from what feels like mortal danger.
So now let's get into what this looks like inside the mind of the avoidant. But before we do that, for those of you new here, I'm Tarina Terry,
And I'm Joel Terry. We're both licensed therapists. I bring the science.
and I bring the heart.
Now, let's talk about what the shame spiral actually looks like from the inside.
So here's the part most people miss about avoidant shutdown. It's not just about escaping the conflict, it's about escaping the shame. Because what triggered the firefighters in the first place wasn't just the disagreement between you two, it was what that disagreement activated within them, between their parts.
Those exiles we mentioned, the young, wounded parts. For most avoidants, those exiles carry massive amounts of shame. Shame that says, I'm bad, I'm too much, I'm not enough, I ruin everything. And during conflict, especially with someone they love, those exiles start to surface, and the shame becomes overwhelming.
So, we're here to walk you through what the spiral actually looks like from the inside.
You have a fight. Maybe you express hurt or disappointment. Maybe you ask for something they can't give in that moment. And immediately their exile parts activate. See, I'm failing. I'm hurting them. I'm not good enough for this relationship.
But they can't stay with that feeling. The shame is too big. So the firefighters slam the emergency exit. Shutdown, withdrawal, distance.
But here's where it gets worse. Now, they're not just dealing with the original shame from the conflict, they're dealing with shame about shutting down.
I shouldn't need to run away. A good partner would stay and talk. What's wrong with me that I can't even do this? More shame.
So they withdraw even further because now they're ashamed of being ashamed. They can't face you because facing you means facing all of that.
And from the outside, this looks like they don't care. It looks like they're fine. They've moved on. They're not affected.
But inside, it's a complete collapse. They're drowning in shame so intense they literally cannot function in the relationship. And this is why avoidants often go completely silent after a fight. It's not strategy, it's not punishment. They genuinely cannot face you while carrying that much internal pain.
And they definitely can't tell you what's happening because honestly, they're often shut down even from themselves. And putting it into words would mean acknowledging the exiles, feeling the feelings, exposing the shame, which is exactly what their system is trying so desperately to avoid. So instead, they disappear. They become distant, cold, and unreachable. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they're trying to survive the storm happening inside.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how long does this last? When does the shutdown end?
And the hard truth is, it varies dramatically. For some avoidants, they can start to come back online within hours. For others, it can be days or even weeks.
It depends on a few factors. One, how deep is their avoidant wounding? How much shame are those exiles carrying?
Two, do they have any awareness of their attachment pattern? Have they done any of the work on this? Or is this completely unconscious for them?
And three, and this is crucial, are their firefighters getting what they need to calm down? Which is usually distance, safety, and no pressure to reconnect.
Because here's what makes shutdown last longer. When the anxious partner keeps reaching out, keeps texting, keeps trying to talk, keeps asking, "Are we okay?" Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because each attempt at contact reactivates the firefighters. It tells them danger is still present, must maintain shutdown, cannot engage.
So the more you pursue during their collapse, the longer the collapse tends to last because their system never gets the signal that it's safe to come back.
Now, we're going to talk more about what actually helps avoidance come back from shutdown in our next video, which will be the 5 stages of avoidant repair and how to know if it's actually happening. But for now, what you need to understand is this. Their shutdown has a timeline, and that timeline is determined by their internal system, not by how much you try to fix it from the outside.
The firefighters have to calm down. The exiles have to feel safe enough to step back. Their nervous system has to shift from threat to safe enough. And that process can't be rushed, which is incredibly painful when you're the one sitting in uncertainty, wondering if your relationship is over.
And even more so painful when you're working to heal your own anxious attachment that just wants desperately to reach out and reconnect.
Now, it's important to understand that not all avoidant distance is the same. There's healthy space, there's collapse, and then there's stonewalling. And you need to know the difference.
Healthy space is when an avoidant who has been doing their work and is aware of their attachment style says, "I need some time to process. Can we talk about this tomorrow?" They're still present, still connected. They just need a pause.
That's their managers handling things with guidance from self. That centered, wise part that can make good decisions. They're just recognizing they need to break to stay in self.
Collapse is what we're talking about today, which is when the firefighters take over. They shut down completely, they can't reach out, they can't explain, they just disappear into survival mode. They're not trying to hurt you, they're just completely overwhelmed internally. They want to come back. They just can't access that capacity yet.
And then there's stonewalling. And stonewalling is different. Stonewalling is when someone uses distance as a weapon. when the withdrawal is designed to punish, to control, to make you feel how they feel. With stonewalling, there's often an awareness of the impact. I know this is hurting them, and part of me wants it to hurt them. That's not firefighters protecting. That's something else.
And here's why this matters. Collapse can be worked with. Collapse is a nervous system issue that can heal with the right
Mm.
support and awareness.
But stonewalling, that's a character issue. That's a choice to harm. And that's not something you can fix by understanding their internal parts better.
So, as you're watching your avoidant partner shut down, pay attention. Are they disappearing into overwhelm, or are they weaponizing distance? Because one deserves your compassion and patience while they learn to regulate, and the other necessitates your boundary and possibly your exit. And if you're not sure which one you're dealing with, that's something we can help you figure out. But it starts with you being honest about the pattern, not just the intensity.
Before we get to the science section, we want you to know we created a worksheet for this video. It helps you map out what's happening during your partner's shutdown and identify which type of distance you're actually dealing with.
And we're making this one available to everyone so you can see exactly what our Inner Circle growth members get with each and every video we release. You'll find the link in the description below.
Our Inner Circle Growth is our Tier 2 membership where you get worksheets like this for every video, plus access to our community of people going through this exact thing.
Click the join button to learn more. It's a way you can support us if what we're doing here in these videos is helping you.
Now, let's talk about the science of what's actually happening in an avoidance brain during shutdown. When someone with avoidant attachment enters collapse, their parasympathetic nervous system activates what's called the dorsal vagal response. This is the freeze or shutdown response, different from fight or flight. In this state, heart rate actually decreases, metabolism slows down, and the part of the brain responsible for social engagement, the ventral vagal system, goes offline. Research from the polyvagal theory shows that when someone is in dorsal vagal shutdown, they literally cannot access the neural pathways needed for connection, communication, or problem solving. It's not won't, it's can't. And here's what's fascinating. Brain imaging studies show that for people with avoidant attachment, even thinking about emotional closeness or vulnerability activates the amygdala. That's the brain's threat detection center, more intensely than it does for securely attached people. So when conflict brings up emotional vulnerability, their brain is processing it as a genuine threat. The shutdown isn't manipulation, it's neurological protection. The good news is that with awareness and practice, these neural pathways can change. Avoidance can learn to stay present during conflict without going into shutdown, but it requires them to recognize what's happening and actively work on building nervous system regulation skills. Which brings us to the question, can this pattern change? And what does repair actually look like when an avoidance starts to come back online? We're covering that in our next video.
So let's get to the heart of it. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant partner who shuts down after conflict, I need you to hear this. Their shutdown is not about you. I know it feels personal. I know it feels like rejection and abandonment and like they're choosing distance over you. But what's actually happening is they're drowning in a shame so big they can't even breathe. That doesn't mean you have to accept it forever. That doesn't mean you don't deserve a partner who can stay present during hard conversations. You absolutely do. But it does mean that their collapse isn't evidence that they don't love you. It's evidence that they're carrying wounds so deep that conflict activates their survival system. And here's what I want you to sit with. You can have compassion for their pain and still have boundaries about what you're willing to accept in a relationship. You can understand that shutdown is a nervous system response and still decide you need a partner who is doing the work to change that response. Both things can be true. Their struggle is real and your needs matter. So as you watch them disappear into shutdown, as you sit in the uncertainty of wondering if they'll come back, I want you to ask yourself, are they aware this is happening? Are they working on it? Or are you the only one holding space for their healing while your own needs go unmet? Because understanding what's happening inside them is step one. But step two is deciding what you're willing to live with while they learn to do it differently. And that's a decision only you can make.
So that's what's happening inside an avoidant during shutdown. But the question you're probably asking now is, will they come back? And how do you know if repair is actually happening?
And that's exactly what we're covering in our next video, the 5 stages of avoidant repair, what each stage looks like, how long it typically takes, and the red flags that mean repair isn't coming.
Because not every shutdown leads to reconnection, and you deserve to know the difference between an avoidant who's working towards repair and one who's just going to keep repeating the cycle forever. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video. It's going to give you the roadmap for what comes next.
And if you haven't yet signed up for our free weekly emails, you're missing out. We share relationship insights that don't make it into the videos. Sign up using the link in the description box below, and you'll receive these emails directly to your inbox every Wednesday. Think of it as your midweek boost between our Monday and Friday videos.
Thanks for being here. Take care of your heart.
And remember, you're not alone. We're all in this
Together.
together.